Hello and welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast. My name is Dr. Owen Campbell, and with me, as always, is Dr. Brian Wolf. And together, we are PhysioGrowth. PhysioGrowth is a mastermind group. Well, it's kind of everything, really, coaching group, mastermind, but basically, we've got all the scars so you guys can have the successes. We have a question and
Oh,
answer
I like
group.
that.
I'm telling you, man, like we get the scars, we teach you, and you get the successes.
That was sweet.
But check us out online. We are physio-growth.com. You can also check the show notes to look at our school group where we hold our weekly Q&As with members. And one of the things that we have been talking about between ourselves is SEO, so search engine optimization. This is a big question for small fish and big fish alike. And I know Brian just had a big meeting about it, so it's kind of top of mind for him. And for longtime listeners will know, I've actually kind of nerded out about this. Like I've been learning more about it. So we'll talk through kind of the process where it's important, what's important, when you should start doing it, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we had talked about this, I think way back when we were chatting about the idea that, I can't remember the way you asked me the question. You said like, "Hey, what's the next thing you pull the trigger on if you're doing like boots on the ground marketing?" We're like, we kind of came to the conclusion SEO, right? Like SEO
Yeah.
is the way to go. Now, why? Because the reality is, if you get somebody who can help you with SEO very quickly, you can really make an impact quite quickly on where you rank on Google very fast.
Mhm.
It is, and what's interesting, and the right reason why it's top of mind is the big thing for those people that are interested in like what they are doing. So there are a couple of different things that factor into that, right? One is how you write certain copy on your website, right?
Mhm.
And how that works. Blogs and content were always king. It was like, oh, here's where this helps. But the new thing that everybody is really focusing on, and Google, I guess the new algorithms focused on, is backlinks. And
Yep.
we've talked about this, Owen. Personally, I don't think we ever actually talked about it on a podcast. But for
Mhm.
those who know about backlinks, backlinks are something you can make sure that you're connecting your website. So imagine like a spider web of connections. If I'm connecting my website to other people's websites, particularly partners I have, advertisements, if there's other types of like, blog posts I put elsewhere or different services that I utilize on the marketing side, your SEO and your website will start to rank higher. So
Mhm.
it's not just blog posts, and the reason I feel like Google switches around was because of AI, right? Because like now I could bang out 50 freaking generic blog posts, and I'm not putting any quality out there. But if
Yeah.
I'm real in the community, well, guess what? Like I have to ask somebody to put me on their website or backlink me. So
Yeah.
anyway, I know you know a lot about backlinks, but this is king right now. So apparently, so that was what was top of mind. I started saying, oh, and I was like, we had mentioned in one of our last episodes was about testimonials and getting Google reviews and that kind of stuff, and that helps as well. It helps rank you in SEO, but it's the backlinks from that stuff that actually works really well too. So anyway,
I,
that's where I wanted to take this a little today.
well, and I think it's important to define some terms here, right? Because some people might not even be thinking about this, right? So,
Yep.
like you already went over backlinks, right? Another thing that's kind of important is called domain rating, and it's a weird number, but basically, it's kind of like a ballpark number of like how popular your site is from 0 to 100. So, like when I first started my website, maybe zero point 0.5, right? I think I signed up for something and they gave me a little profile so I could write, this is Simplify Motion, this is my website. And it wasn't Facebook, it was something where like, I basically like registered if somebody wanted to call me for free. So that helped, but everything else was, I was writing blog posts. Nobody was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing blog post, I'm going to put it on, you know phoenix.com or whatever. So when you're talking to somebody, and I think this is really important for people starting out versus people who have some money to spend, a true marketing budget, is that when you're starting out, you kind of have to do bootstrap stuff. You do have to write the
Yeah.
blogs, you do have to make sure stuff's optimized. But pretty early on, you can get like a website person who can do very basic website updates that will jump your SEO. I went from 25th ranked to like ninth ranked. Like I get to the
Yeah.
first page just by having a decent website. right?
For sure.
So that's going to help you. You might even be able to find deals where those website guys will say, I'll list you on a few places. I'll do some other stuff for you. So you can get by. I mean, I think I pay $300 a month, right?
Yep.
And that's laying a foundation because I know that I want to get to a higher level with my company. And I want that foundation so that when I do have a true SEO person that has the connections with New York Times, Washington Post, whatever it is that can maybe get me on blogs, all these different, like when you get backlinks from big people, then it's not a crappy website to go to. So there is a continuum here. Don't just go on Fiverr and pay
Yeah.
$100 for backlinks because they will all be crap.
For sure. And I think a big piece of this is that when it comes to those backlinks and that stuff, it's really important to understand that, like, if we don't do that stuff properly, again, and it's tedious work too, but if we don't do that stuff properly, it won't rank you higher. And the
Yeah,
first thing I would say to people is, like, just make sure that you, again, the first thing I would outsource, one of the first things I would outsource is this, like,
yeah,
get your website done professionally. If you're putting something up yourself, it's nice because it's going to help. And again, I like, full transparency with other stuff. We've built websites for things, but we've never thought these were things that were going to be for a local business, right?
mhm,
When it comes to like something like PhysioGrowth or something like, an online business, that's different. When it's a local business, SEO matters because you're trying to attract people all the time.
yeah,
And again, that's a big difference. I would actually give a full transparency to build trust with. With PhysioGrowth, I actually would change the whole thing. If you're doing online training,
mhm,
online, I would go a totally different route. But with local business, SEO is going to be king because no matter what advertising you're pulling, if you're not able to increase your website presence for a local audience, you're going to be falling behind. So it makes a
yeah,
lot more sense to do it. Plus, by the way, it's going to be a lot cheaper than competing with people who have like money to do paid advertising,
yeah.
engaging referral partners, creating content, that kind of stuff.
Well, and keep in mind too, this is a good place where you start, call SEO people, talk with them and say, because almost all of them will give you kind of a free diagnostic, right? On like what keywords are you trying to rank for. So for instance, I met with one, God, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and she said, okay, what are you ranking for? I said, in-home physical therapy, because right now I'm cash based. I'm out of the back of my car. She's like, oh, that's a 1 out of 5. That'll be super easy to rank for. So then I can say, oh, okay, cool. Like maybe I can, when I
Yeah.
have $700-800 a month, I can hire you and beat everybody else. Um, but then she said, well, what about physical therapy? And then she looked at that. She's like, oh, that's a 5 out of 5
100%.
because I am competing with the hospitals. I am competing with the private equity firms. I am competing with all this stuff. So these are the types of questions that if I just say, okay, whatever, I'm just going to write a bunch of blogs on physical therapy. No way. I need to write in-home concierge physical therapy, and then I'll jump right up. So
Well,
these are the things that are really important for someone who knows.
and realize too in that pool, what Owen just said, in-home concierge physical therapy is much more niche and specific than
Hmm.
physical therapy, right?
Yep.
Physical therapy, if we just did a physical therapy only podcast versus if we did a in-home concierge physical therapy podcast, they're two completely different things.
Yep.
And one is encompassing of the other, but not the other way
Hmm.
around, right?
Yep.
And so that's the reason for what I was saying about that 1 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. Like, for me, it's super important for us to rank physical therapy near you.
Yep.
So we work our asses off to do that. And I think
Hmm.
that's a big piece. It's like, if you want to scale and grow, you have to do that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, what the disadvantages for certain clinics, because if you can't keep up and you can't grow, man, at a certain point you're kind
Yeah.
of dying a little bit, right?
It's
And so I
definitely
think
not
that's a piece
something
of it.
it's definitely not something that I would say, okay, my first $2,000 every month goes to SEO when I'm small. I'm still, building my caseload. But my God, if I was at your size, like it would be ridiculous if I wasn't doing it.
Yeah,
Right. And I
it's
think
crazy.
I follow a guy who's a big SEO, influencer slash, I think he's got his own company and all that. But he basically says is like, if you're a small business, you do not spend your first dollar on premier SEO stuff. You just do the basics, right?
Yeah.
Get your website, make sure it has like the keywords, right? And he said, but if you're a big local business like you are, you kind of have to.
Hell yeah. Well, and also, like, it's in the whole grand scheme of things, it's not that expensive. Like,
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna say this, and it's not the flex, but the reality is, like, to spend 15 grand on a website right
yeah,
now, like, I'm gonna spend that in paid advertising in a few months, right? Like,
yeah,
so if I think about, again, if I'm a smaller business, for me to pay a one-time fee to get a kick-ass website and then pay a small amount to ultimately have that monitored. It makes total sense from a cash flow perspective.
Well, and
So
also think it's an asset when you sell your business. If you
yes,
are ranking and you are
100%.
constantly your reviews are up, you're organically ranking number one in like this massive area, and you say, "Man, I kind of want to get out of here. I want to sell this to somebody." They're going to say, "Oh, okay, I'm definitely buying this business that's number one on Google."
And,
Right?
and, and at the same time, though, like, and again, it's not actually again, it's the way I'm setting this up of a again though, right? It's not it. But if I look at appointment, like I'm just gonna look at my website because I can actually look at like the appointments from the website.
Hmm.
Just every single day, man, I get a point. We get appointments from it. So again, to your point about like I'm going to pay for advertising is more expensive. It's actually less expensive to get stuff organically in this way. So
Yeah.
it's the best. It's the best way to start. It's paid advertising in the easiest form. Literally, I got somebody this morning at 10:23 a.m. I got another person yesterday. I got another person 2 days, two people the 2 days before, and then I
Hmm.
got another two people the 2 days before that, and I got four people on the 10th of December. I got another, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know,
Yep.
I'm dropping dates, but like all of a sudden, before you start looking at it, in the month, just through the website organically, and that's not people who saw my website and called. This is people
Yeah.
who submitted a form online, right, to be
Yep.
contacted. I'm talking about 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 patients just for our Connecticut clinics. This isn't even talking about. Plus, we do stuff on fitness, so I get fitness leads and all this stuff like that. So the reality of that stuff is it's pretty mind-boggling how quickly it expands.
Yeah.
And again, if you're not being seen, you don't even realize what you're missing out on. That's the
Yep.
thing about SEO. It's just such a slam dunk easy thing that you're gonna make your money back. You got to do it. You have
Yeah.
to.
And,
It's the
and
first thing to
that's
do.
yeah, and I mean we've said that at the beginning. Obviously, paid ads are, I don't want to say sexy, but they're like, oh, cool, I can shoot video and like if you're creative and things like that. But honestly, the nuts and bolts are when somebody says, "Oh, my knee hurts. Oh, what do I need?" Well, my mom says I need PT. Okay, what am I going to do? Okay, the first thing they're doing is physical therapy near me, right? Or oh, I had a shoulder issue and I just don't want to go into a clinic. Concierge PT near me, right? It's the first thing anybody does. Like, what do you do when you want to buy
Yeah.
like sneakers? Sneaker store near me. Like those are the things. So it's boring, honestly, compared to like video shoots and like all that stuff. But I mean,
And we
boring
talked about.
works.
I mean, again, just have a content guy come and do some stuff with us. It's 2 grand. Right?
No,
And again, that's to get 20 videos that works. And I mean, that's
yeah,
that's fine, and that's actually probably inexpensive comparatively to some other stuff you could do. And then some
yeah,
people might argue, well, but what if I do content myself and I cut it up and I put it out there? Yeah, okay, that's
yeah,
fine. But now it's dependent on you and your time. And by
yeah.
the way, it doesn't work as well.
No,
I'll bet
you
it.
got to
I'll
have
bet my
good
ass
quality
on that.
content
Right?
now. Yeah,
Right. And again, yeah, because the quality content, you're not better than Taylor Swift if you're
yeah,
doing physical therapy. Got news for you.
yeah,
Sorry. I'd much rather watch the Swifty. And then in terms of in
yeah.
terms of in terms of the aspect of if you're putting out content and you can do it for free, it's going to take a lot more time. So
Mhm.
again, I would argue to take the first few dollars and put it into something like again, I would put it into boots on the ground first so that you can really track the one-to-one and try and get some ball rolling that way. But the second one will be on really optimizing the website.
Well, I will
Hands
give
down.
you one final story is for this to hit home for anybody, either bigger business or smaller business. A very good friend of mine in the city, right? We were used to work together. She started her mobile concierge way earlier than I did, right? So she's going to have a bigger caseload. Her brother is an SEO expert, and she got immediately top level SEO, um, treatment, right?
Yeah.
She is hilarious because she wants nothing to do with more than 15 patients a week. She calls me 3 times a month asking if I want to see a patient that she just doesn't want to go see.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, it's just, I don't want to say passive, but it's, come on. Right. Like, she kind of hit the jackpot with that.
Again,
But you
what's
can, you can see how she'd never done an ad in her life. Right.
yeah. What's hilarious
She
about
barely
that?
goes to gyms,
Well, what's hilarious about that, and we'll talk about scaling cash business because we kind of chat about how we'll do that next. But
Yeah.
the reality of it is what's interesting about that particular case is think about how Owen in this scenario is actually getting the patient through the networking.
Yeah.
That's the first step. He knows the person who's going to give him referrals. So through that money that you're getting for free, those patients use that money to go do what that woman's doing, which is optimizing SEO. Does
Yup.
that make sense? That's exactly what you do. If
Yep.
Owen said that to me, I was like, where would I start? Go join an organization where you find people like that who are going to feed you, referral partners, and then do the SEO. Exactly.
Yeah.
Bingo. And then get paid
Work
extra.
in a
But if you
town
want to
for a
learn
little
this
while.
stuff,
I
you want to
know.
learn this stuff, right? You can go to physio-growth.com and we can teach you how to do logical steps where you can make more money doing what you love to do. That is it.
That is it. And we even had something in the group 2 days ago, right? Where it's just like, oh, logical step is this, right?
Yeah.
And after you just spitballing it out and came to a conclusion. So I love it. I love doing that thing every week, and hopefully we can help you out. So Brian, with that, we're ending up, man. Have a good one.
Sounds good, brother. See ya.